All right, and welcome to our coverage of definition essays, where we will attempt to define a definition essay. All right, so what's the purpose of a definition essay? What do you use the blasted things for? Well, definition essays are pretty obvious. This is no surprise here. They focus on defining something. So they'll ask questions like who or what is it? I want to know what this thing is, not just some vague description. They'll ask, what does it mean? And this, of course, can be a person, a place, a thing, or idea. A lot of times when someone says, write me a definition essay, they mean an idea or a concept like truth or dignity or conservation or whatever. But technically, it can refer to just about anything. And to what end would you write a definition essay? Well, definition essays boil something down to its very essence, and then it explains that essence in a clear, concise, and yet detailed way. And I need to be clear here, it is not simply giving the dictionary definition. That's what some people tend to think. Give me, what is my definition essay? I give you this one sentence and I'm done. No. That is a dictionary definition. We want an essay. So what you do is you give your definition and then you unpack it and you explore it to much greater detail so that we actually understand the details of what you're talking about, not just have it in a sentence. And where might you use a definition essay? What good is it? Well, use cases are pretty broad. And often the overlap between academia and the world of the real is pretty significant. Often you'll see definition-type prose appearing as a sub-theme of a longer work or in support of a greater argument. Often they're used to introduce a new concept, a new person, or a new invention to an audience that has never seen them before and therefore doesn't understand them. So it's a simple introduction. So much in life depends on a first impression. Definition exposition lets you introduce someone or something to people who have never heard of it before. And so as a literary, a philosophical study, or in preparation for a business proposal, definition is extremely important. Next, it can be used to examine a concept or to question a prevailing definition that everybody thinks they already know. Where would you do that? Maybe in a legal argument or a scientific paper, where it's important to be able to demonstrate that you have proved a particular point. In order to do that, that comes with our third point, you need to set appropriate standards and expectations. So in cases where prevailing opinion might bias someone against your information, what you need to do is get in there and you need to correct the misconceptions. You need to communicate clearly. You need to set the standards so that everyone knows what you are talking about. Therefore, you control the discussion. You control the standard of evidence. And so definition essays and definition exposition is a key part in that. All right. Well, what does a good UIM kosher thesis statement look like? The kind of thing that you would actually use in your exams. Well, definition essays are indeed, for the umpteenth time, pretty straightforward. You introduce your topic, and then you unpack it. It's that simple. So you need to clearly state what it is you are defining, and then you need to offer 3 major points that will further our understanding of the issue. So here is an example of a thesis that I wrote while I was staring around at my computer desk trying to think of something to write, and I saw my docking station. So a docking station is a piece of hardware that expands the number/variety of open ports available to your computer, coordinates attached devices, and allows laptops to function in ways similar to a desktop setup. Should be pretty straightforward. If you don't know what a docking station is, it tells you what the docking station is. It's computer hardware. Then it unpacks 3 very clear ways that we're going to understand in more detail what this thing does or what this thing is. Let's break out the overall organization and see what a good UIM definition essay looks like in more detail. First, you once again have your introduction, funnel type. You have your hook. You have your thesis statement. You have in that thesis statement the term or item or person to be defined, plus the three major areas of exploration that you're going to be going into. Main body 1 corresponds to the first area of exploration. Main body 2, the second area. Main body 3, the third. The conclusion is your standard reverse funnel type that culminates in the mic drop moment. And how exactly do you explore the topic? Like, I am here bravely exploring the edge of the Grand Canyon. Well, anyway. There are several different tactics you can try. One is you can analyze the aspect. That's divide the whole and then define each part very clearly and in detail. You can use compare and contrast, sort of like we did in our other essays, to show similarities or dissimilarities between the thing that you're talking about and something more familiar. You can exemplify the thing that you're talking about by giving specific examples in your body paragraphs. You can illustrate by describing the topic in detail. Or, depending on what your approach is, you can take a historical approach where you give important background and context needed to understand the item that we're talking about. Now, most UIM essays tend to go with the first 4, but the 5th is a viable option done well. And I'll include a link to this PDF in the description of the video. And finally, what are some things you should look out for when writing a definition essay? Well, the very first and most obvious, I think, should again be pretty clear. Make sure you understand what you're talking about yourself. If you don't actually know what your topic means, if you don't know all of the details, and if you can't explain them to anyone else, then trying to tackle a definition essay is probably a bad idea. In fact, you're probably going to make yourself look dumb rather than more intelligent. So make sure that if you're going to take the route of the definition essay in your exams, that you really feel comfortable talking about the thing that you're going to be addressing. Next, make sure that you take multiple perspectives into account when writing and stay objective. And I say write for meaning, not propaganda. What you're trying to do in your definition essay is give the clearest, most objective, most fair account of whatever this thing is that you can. Now, I'm not saying you have to pretend that something is good when it's bad or is bad when it's good. For example, you wouldn't write a definition essay of the Nazis and come off sounding like they're halfway decent people. I mean, no, you're going to be honest about the Nazis. But at the same time, when people are reading your definition essay, they should get the sense that you really know your stuff and you're being fair to everyone, and what you're talking about here is based on objective evidence, not your own particular vague opinion. And finally, don't feel like you have to define something for all times and all places when you write one of these essays. Some people who have very detail-oriented personalities can get very frustrated writing a definition essay because look at all of the different meanings of all of the different words out there and how one word can mean completely different things to people in the same context even. And so if you try to do too much, you're going to bite off more than you can chew. So all you're trying to do in your definition essay is define your term for what's in front of you, for the people who are in front of you, for the audience you have with you, for the time that you're addressing them. So don't stress out. Don't try to do too much. Just be clear, be concise, and to the point. After all, that's what good definition essays are all about.